Now I'd like to welcome to the programme Helen Baxter, who's a play volunteer with Children in Hospital Ireland. So thanks very much for coming on, Helen.
Not at all, Patrick. I'm delighted to talk to you this morning, so thanks very much for having us, Children in Hospital, and myself on the radio show this morning.
Yeah, good to have you. When did you get involved with Children in Hospital?
I started volunteering back in September 2018, and I've been volunteering since. I live in Santry, so I volunteer in Temple Street Hospital because that's really close to me.
Right. And
the way I...
Sorry, how did you hear about the organisation?
Well, I love listening to the radio, Patrick.
Right.
So I always have the paid radio on while I'm around the house. And I think it was one afternoon that one of the representatives from Children in Hospital were being interviewed on the radio, and they were looking for volunteers. And I have 10 nieces and nephews, and I loved playing with them when they were small. But of course they grew up, and they flat out refused to play with me as they grew up into teenagers and adults. Yes. But Children in Hospital, they were looking for volunteers, and I thought, oh my God, somebody's going to let me go and play with the children, and I don't even have to have a PhD to do that.
Right, yeah.
So I got in touch because I wasn't sure. I thought maybe I was too old to volunteer or wouldn't fit the criteria. But you can volunteer with Children in Hospital from any age to any age. So I got involved that way because I love playing with kids.
Right, and did it turn out like you expected? I'm sure there were aspects of it that were a bit of a surprise, were there, when you actually started doing it?
I think it did turn out as I expected. I think going into a hospital initially, you're nervous because you think you're concerned about the infection control, sterility aspects, that you don't want to do any harm to these children. So you're concerned about that aspect because obviously some of the children we go into, they're very unwell. And but then really you get into it very quickly. If I tell you about one of our first patients that we came across was a little 3-year-old girl.
Right. And
we started singing nursery rhymes to her. And when we finished, she clapped and said, "Good job." So that was very encouraging from our point. And this kid, she was an Irish kid, but she clapped and said, "Good job."
Yeah.
So myself and my partner, that obviously gave us great encouragement to go on.
Of course, yeah.
So generally what happens is we go up to, we go to the nurses when we go on a ward, and they tell us which children might like a visit. So we go up to the child, and depending on the age, we might offer stickers or crayons and pencils and colouring material. We might stop and have a chat, or we have playing cards with us, generally myself and Claire, because we like to play cards with kids. And we might try and have a game of Snap.
Yeah.
And we find that's a great way of getting a conversation going. And children from the age of 7 or 8 onwards can usually play Snap up to teenagers and adults.
Right.
And the care assistants minding the children or the parents, everybody can get involved in the game. And it's a chance to initiate a conversation as you go along in a very natural way. Mm-hmm. So we find that's good, and you can have good crack playing Snap, as you know, and it can be as boisterous as one wants, or it can be very well behaved either. But of course, there's no cheating.
Yeah.
No cheating. Play volunteers wouldn't cheat playing Snap. But of course they wouldn't. No. So we have, and then there's other children that we go into, and maybe small babies or children who have an intellectual disability, who we're not able to have a chat with them, but we find that music is a great way of communicating with them.
Right, yeah.
And Claire and I, we both come from families. We were raised in a singing environment, singing in the car on holidays, singing at home, singing at parties. So we love to sing, and we would sing at the drop of a hat. So we sing to these children,
right.
Nursery rhymes, children's songs, or whatever songs we have available to us that we know.
Yeah, and I'm guessing drawing and so on would also come into it in a big way. Crayons and
absolutely, absolutely. Crayons and colouring pages. Yeah, that's so important to children to allow them to draw and colour and express themselves. And the other, some of the other toys that we bring with us is paper dolls, just little cardboard dolls, and that's another great way for kids to express themselves, to play with dolls. Because they can act out their lives and what they're experiencing with dolls.
Right, and would you notice big transformations in certain, when a child that may not be responding too well at the start, can you see it kind of happening in real time, so to speak?
Oh, completely,
Right.
Patrick. The kick we get out of when we make that breakthrough in communication with a child. So sometimes you go in, and some of these children are very small. Usually they have a parent with them, but in that time you have the smallest child, maybe a 6-year-old, on their own,
Yeah.
and they're very, very shy, and we ask, can we come over and say hello? And eventually they start talking to us and they start playing with us.
Right.
And then we know we've made the breakthrough when they smile, or when they start singing along with us.
Yes.
Or sometimes a child maybe with an intellectual disability, we go up, we start singing a song, and then we know we're communicating with the child because they start doing the actions with us.
Right.
Or singing along with us. And that's brilliant when you know you've made that breakthrough.
Yeah.
Or even with the teenagers, when you start playing a game of Snap with them or whatever and having the crack, or start a conversation about, what GA club are you in? What position do you play on the pitch? Because I used to play camogie, so I always like to know, what games kids are playing and what position do they play on the field.
Right. Non-verbal, that must be more of a challenge, is it, at the beginning anyway? Right?
Yes, it is. But again, once the hearing, we will sing with them, and then we obviously use touch. So we obviously ask permission if it's okay, if the child likes to be touched, that we would hold their hand, stroke their hand, and communicate that way.
Yeah.
Because it's very important, I've, from previous experience working with people with intellectual disability and in dementia care, I understand that touch is so important, and music as well, singing as a means of communication.
Yeah. Yeah, because sensory...
And then obviously so much of your...
sensory experience is hugely important, isn't it? Yeah.
We all like to have our hand held, especially if we're not feeling great or if we're feeling frightened.
Yeah.
And it's a way to feel that human touch is so important. And as well, I think the human voice is so important. So that's what speaking to each other it's important. And then for those who aren't able to speak, we can sing to them. And that's important. They hear the human voice and obviously the music itself.
Right.
Can I ask you, sorry, John here, Patrick's colleague. Can I ask you, you can't just turn up and be a volunteer. Can you tell us a bit about the process you had to go through?
Oh, well, anybody who's interested in being a volunteer should go and look at the childreninhospital.ie website. All the information is there. So I think it's a while since I've done it, but you fill out an application form. You have to get Garda vetted, obviously. And then you attend an introductory day where we take part in group interviews. And if everything is going well after that, you then go for a training day. And then when you actually start into the hospitals, you're accompanied by an experienced volunteer who shows you the way around and shows you what to do. So there's loads of support available at all times from the Children in Hospital team. There's loads of support. That's one thing I have to say. Being a volunteer, you always feel very well supported. If there's any query or question comes up, they're back to you immediately.
It appears there's good oversight also.
Oh, absolutely, because obviously that's really, really important. So, if you are interested in being a volunteer, obviously you want to be somebody who likes playing with children, hopefully to have a bit of experience playing with children. But equally important is the hygiene aspect and the infection control. So somebody who, you want to be somebody who wants to play with children, but you have to also be prepared to keep your hands really clean, to obey direction and training from Children in Hospital and direction from the hospital team. So we keep the children safe as we're going up from bed to bed, as we're going in to visit them.
I suppose COVID must have thrown up particular challenges in that area at the time, yeah.
Oh, sure. We had to stop visiting altogether during COVID.
Right.
Yeah, so we were obviously gutted, and I think the children and the staff on the hospitals, they really missed us too.
Yeah.
So when we got back into the hospitals after COVID, we got a welcome and a half from the hospital staff, I have to say.
Yeah.
And we were so thrilled to get back in playing with the kiddies because we were lonely at home on our own.
Right.
And we were delighted to get back into them. So obviously we were back in wearing our masks and super paranoid because of COVID. But obviously it all worked out. And people, I think with COVID, people understood even more so the importance of play for children.
Yes.
And the importance of having fun, because obviously they're in a pretty miserable situation in hospital. Nobody wants to be in hospital, especially not a child. And the way the younger ones, they don't even understand fully what's going on. So it's obviously a very difficult situation for them. So it's really important if we can get them smiling, laughing, playing and having fun. Because if they're back playing, that's a normal activity. It's something that they're doing at home, that they're doing in school. So it distracts them from the abnormal situation which they're in.
Right. And were you able to maintain any service at all during COVID? Were you able to do anything through video or anything like that?
Yeah, I think we did have videos and support set up online. But what we also did was we put together play packs for children.
Yes.
And they were sent in huge numbers, with colouring pages, colouring books and crayons and activities for older children. So we did everything we could. I think they made a huge difference. The colouring and play packs are huge. And we're still using those, in fact, still sending them in.
Right. And you're active in quite a number of hospitals throughout the country and a few in Dublin, like Crumlin and Temple Street and so on.
Yeah, we're in Crumlin and Temple Street. We're in the National Rehabilitation Hospital out in Dunleary as well. Overall, though, children in hospital, we're active in 40. We have volunteers going into 14 hospitals around the country.
Right.
But we're also sending in colour packs and play packs to 22 hospitals.
Right. And how many volunteers?
And at the moment,
so how many volunteers?
Yeah, at the moment we have around 300 volunteers, I think. Now, obviously the numbers are fluctuating all the time, but we're always looking for new volunteers because I think we lost a lot of volunteers after COVID, during COVID and after COVID. So we're always looking for volunteers. And we'd love to get male volunteers in as well because we're predominantly female, but we'd love to get male volunteers on board.
And are males more reluctant to go to put themselves forward for that? Or?
They seem to be. We've come across a couple, but it would be great because obviously the young boys in hospital would love to see guys coming in playing with them and the girls, and it would be lovely to have that gender mix.
Right. And there's also a Just Ask volunteer service, isn't there, in Crumlin? Yeah.
That's right. That's out in Crumlin. So these are volunteers who meet parents and families coming in at the main door, and they will bring them to wherever they're supposed to be for their outpatient appointment or bring them to the wards. They're familiar with the hospital. So it just helps relieve that stress when you arrive at a hospital, obviously very stressed, and just have a friendly face greet you and bring you where you need to be in a timely manner, because the way you're afraid that you're going to be late for your appointment if you don't find the right department, the right ward on time. Yeah,
it can be very intimidating. Like I was in hospital recently myself in Beaumont, and you haven't got a clue where you're going when you go in. You're wandering around trying to find the right place and all that. Yeah.
No, absolutely. And I had the same experience. I attended a hospital in London, and the last time I was there, I walked in and there was a volunteer who greeted me, and boy, was I happy to see her.
Can I ask you, nurses in their daily work, they get a lot of support. Families of children in hospital, they get a lot of support. What supports are available for you as a volunteer?
Oh, well, first of all, we work in pairs always. So that's obviously first from a child protection point of view. But also it means that we're able to support each other. So we're able to keep an eye on each other, that we remember to take off our watch, for example, and that we remember to wash our hands. And, if we're doing anything stupid, that your partner can pull you up and say, stop doing that. But it also means that when we're at the bedside with a child, that if we're trying to maintain a conversation, so I might be able to initiate a conversation, but then if I get a bit stuck about what to say next, that then my partner, Claire, she can jump in. And between the two of us, we can keep things going. And the other thing is sometimes when we get to the child's bedside, one of us might start interacting with the child and playing with the child, and the second person then might actually talk to the parent or the guardian or grandparent who's there. And it gives them an opportunity to have a conversation, a bit of adult company for the day, or maybe to offload a little bit about talk about what's going on in their lives if they want to. because obviously patient confidentiality is hugely important.
Of course.
But often people like to be able to talk about what's going on.
Right, you mentioned intellectually disabled. I presume you also have to work with physically disabled children sometimes, yeah.
Oh yes, sure.
Yeah.
Obviously in Temple Street, in any hospital, there's a range, yes.
Yeah, and that would throw...
And then obviously you have children who have both a physical disability and an intellectual disability.
Yes. So you'd have to develop certain skills, wouldn't you, to meet each situation as you come across it, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But then we would get guidance from the nursing staff.
Yes.
And then if there's a parent or guardian with the child, we'll, have a little chat to them and say, okay, what works here? Is it okay if we do this, that? Does the child like music? What does the child like? Does the child like stickers? They're always popular.
Yeah.
And we'll take it from there. But we find, as I say, myself and Claire, my partner, we love to sing, and we often find music is a great entree that children respond to that, especially children with intellectual disability.
Right. I think we're kind of coming to the end. Is there anything else you'd like to add, Helen?
Well, just to tell you maybe a little about Alex then.
Oh, yes,
because you're going to
absolutely.
talk to Alex's mum, Mags. Yeah. Myself and Claire, we've been going into him for, I think, 7 weeks now.
Right.
And he likes music. He's obviously been exposed to loads of music at home. So we just love going in and singing to him. But one of the things about Alex is he's not able to communicate a whole lot.
Yes.
But he does have the most wonderful smile. He has the most beautiful blue eyes, and he has a wonderful smile. And I have seen many radiant brides in my life, but when Alex's parents arrive into the room and he hears their voices, his face lights up like I have never seen anybody's face light up. Right. It's just amazing to see. And you can see the love that he has for both his parents, Mags and Michael, and the love they have for him, and the tremendous care that they have obviously given to him.
Yeah.
And it's lovely to be part of that.
Yeah. So obviously you build up a relationship with the people you're dealing with over time.
Absolutely. So we're singing as many Tipperary songs now as we know, but Alex's dad, Michael, has even allowed us to sing our Dublin songs to Alex.
Very good, yeah. So is there anything else you'd like to add before we wind up?
I think really just to say that we do this because we love doing it.
Yeah.
It's really rewarding and we get an awful lot out of it. I mean, obviously we're making a difference, hopefully, to children, the parents, the staff, but we do it because we love doing it. We do it for ourselves. But I feel immensely privileged to share these children's lives, however briefly, really privileged.
Yeah. And of course,
the dignity that these children have, teaches me the dignity which they bear their illnesses and the dignity that the parents have.
Right. Anyway, on the website there's an awful lot of information about the organisation, Children in Hospital, and people, anyone who's interested could explore that, and if they're interested in being volunteers or donating.
Yeah,
or whatever.
childreninhospital.ie. So people if they're interested in volunteering, if they're interested in donating, or if there's organisations who might be interested in getting involved in, organising staff days where they might play packs for children. Yeah, so there's lots of different opportunities for people there.
Right, thanks, Helen. Thanks very much.
Not at all, Patrick. It was lovely talking to you today.
Nice talking to you. So, bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye from both of us. Thanks.
Okay, thanks very much. Bye-bye. Thank you.